Welcome to the Longhorn Postgame show. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Rod Babers. This episode of On Texas Football brought to you by our friends at Flight Texas defeats San Jose State 38-7, just finishing moments ago. Rod, at best, an uneven performance for the Longhorns, loads of penalties. There were spurts, that famous Sark spurt that you talk about happened about midway through the second quarter, I believe. 24 or 28 points in less than 5 minutes of play, but a very uneven performance. But also, I will say this: back on the winning side of the ledger, there were some nice things done by Arch Manning. It was not a complete performance by Arch Manning. We'll talk about all that and more. Rod, your initial thoughts on this game?
I was way off. I had a shutout, number one, so I was off in that respect. I think I may have either underestimated San Jose State offensively a little bit, or I think DBs need to clean up some things. I thought they had some open receivers out there, but they kind of specialize in that. And I thought they actually, at times broke off a couple of runs that I didn't think they had in them, frankly, considering they don't really have a potent running game. So defensively, I think there's some things that they can clean up, but they only gave up 7 points. So, I'm just being uber critical there. Offensively, I wanted to see more from the running game, and I did not. I was very complimentary of the offensive line and the run game versus Ohio State. In this game, I think, I may be a little disappointed. And I know they still ended up with over 4 yards per carry, but I thought you would see a dominant run performance. Now, you didn't have Trey Weister, so that obviously affects the depth of your running back group, but I expected to see more there. And outside of the Sark run that I talk about all the time, and you brought it up, offensively, that was your best showing of complimentary football. And that's what, Sark, he talks about that all the time. He pleads for his team to play complimentary football. That was the best example of it for 5-6 minutes when he scored 4 touchdowns there. But outside of that, offensively, they were sloppy. And I think you can kind of apply that description, Brian, to the entire team. Sloppy play. And they were sloppy at times versus Ohio State in critical moments, actually. But this game seemed like they were just sloppy the whole game. So that's my word for the day. Sloppy.
Yeah, Brian Robeson joining us as well. Brian, you have the moniker there, 2005 Texas defensive line national champion. Welcome in, bud. What'd you think of the game today?
I got to agree with Rod there. I caught the end of it, and I agree. It just seemed like timing was off on offense. It just seemed like things like they're not hitting on all cylinders. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like there's still some confusion. There's still some things, at times it looks like Arch is a little slow through his reads, and I'm not going to beat Arch up too much. Listen, he's a young quarterback. He's going to steadily get better with the more meaningful reps that he gets. But it just seemed like there was just something missing as far as timing and everything else like that from the offense. Defense.
Go ahead, Brian.
Defensively, I thought for the most part, when you look at a game like this, you always wonder what your defense is going to do. Are they going to come out and play, like they're playing the number one team in the country, or are they going to overlook a team that they're playing like a San Jose State? So I thought there were flashes of it. I thought Watson in the middle had a really good game. I thought he showed up big time today. I thought the D tackles at the nose guard position in general showed up pretty well today. I thought there was some leaky yardage at times throughout the game. I'm not even going to talk too much about the quarterback because he threw the ball 42 times. I mean, come on. Like, that's hard to defend. Like, you're going to get gassed, right? But I thought for the most part, man, DBs, one thing I'll say, them suckers fly around, man. They are flying around.
They do like to hit. They bring it a little bit. We didn't see there's a bunch of things we'll go over today. Matt, if you don't mind, will you bring up the stats for the game? The sloppiness, I think, best can be described if you look at the stat line. Texas had 472 yards of total offense.
Yep.
Look at the penalties, guys. 12 for 115 compared to just 3 for 15 for the Spartans of San Jose State. I think that, as much as anything, tells you just how sloppy these Longhorns were.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say undisciplined. I think sloppy to me is better than just saying they're undisciplined, because undisciplined it means that it's more than just an outlier, more than just a one-time occurrence. So I don't want to slap that tag on them. But if this continues, I don't know if you get it for 3-4 games. If this is not cleaned up by the end of this 3-game stretch before you play at Florida, then I'll just call them undisciplined. I'm just saying, man, they're an undisciplined football team. Sloppy to me implies it's just for the time being. You're sloppy. In that moment, you were sloppy. For that game, you were sloppy. It can be corrected. Undisciplined, that's more of a character, description of your football. Yes. So I'm not going to say that yet. But come on, guys. Like, if you start averaging, what are they now? How many penalties in the Ohio State game? 6?
Yeah.
And it felt like more because they were in critical moments.
What I mean by sloppy too is this: they were happening from first line players. I mean, Colin Simmons alone had 2 offsides and a late hit. Then you had Manny Muhammad, who roughed the punter. Trevor Gooseby had a late hold. Yeah. There are elements there. What's that?
On first play, guys. Yeah. First play. Brian, you practiced that play all week long. First play. It was a great play too. That was the play we wanted to see an Ohio State game earlier. We're like, hey, where's that play? And first play, they come out, big play, but
Livingstone got the hold. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think that, but Rod, you also added something, and I want to mention this to Brian, is these are the 3 games that you can work through these kind of issues, right? I mean, look, they should be able to take these next 2 games just like they took this one. It wasn't really close after that second quarter run, but into second quarter run. But they got to get there and got to start showing a sense of urgency with it. What do you think of the sloppy overall player, Brian?
Man, I just think, man, it compounds everything, right? So when you have the sloppy play like that, like Rod's talking about, and what you guys are talking about, if you look here, the underlying factor is on third downs, they were 2 for 12.
Yep.
A lot of that is caused because of penalties, and when you look at it, when you get into games like when you're going to go to Florida in a few weeks and you have these costly penalties, it can cost you a game. Because if you go 2 for 12 against somebody like Florida, or you go 2 for 12 against somebody like Oklahoma, or you go 2 for 12 against an Ohio State, you're going to get waxed. And that to me is where what you guys are talking about, that's where it's got to change. Like, okay, hey, we had a sloppy game against San Jose State. We need to shore up those mistakes and get better next week, okay? And then we've got another week that we can keep working on those things. But by the time we get to Florida, we got to be hitting on all cylinders, because here's the deal. We don't really know how good Florida's going to be. And if you put yourself in a situation like that where it's 3rd and 10, you have done absolutely nothing on 1st and 2nd down. And the play calling gets very minimalized. Okay, everybody wants to talk about Sark's play calling. Let's be honest. What do you do when it's 3rd and 10? you might as well not even call plays on 1st and 2nd down. Just kneel the ball twice, and then we'll go with 3rd and 10. I mean, what do you want them to do? So that's where, to me, like, you're not only handicapping yourself as far as what your play calling is going to be, but you're also handicapping yourself because now you're putting yourself in situations where, okay, it's 9.7 yards to go. 3rd and longs of 9+, they were 0 for 6. So you start thinking about that. This is against San Jose State. Yeah. You start thinking about that against somebody like Florida or some of these other SEC teams. These scores are not going to be pretty. So you've got another 2 games to shore these mistakes up. That way, when you do get to SEC play, you're hitting on all cylinders.
All right, Brian, I'm going to come back to you and Rod as both. We're going to talk a little bit of some of the bright spots of the game, because there were some. Don't forget about those. We're also going to ask you guys for your players of the game and some other aspects of it here on the Flight post-game show. Flight is the next generation of light beer from Yingling with only 95 calories. It's an easy-to-drink beer with designed to elevate your taste buds with just 2.6 carbs per serving. Flight is easy to drink with a clean, crisp taste. Try Flight from Yingling. Thanks to the fine folks at Flight.
Oh, I can't hear you, Bobby. Oh, I wanted Bobby. Bobby, you muted?
I think
there
you hear me now, guys?
Yes, sir.
You good? Okay, sorry about
Gotcha.
that. Some of the bright spots in this game, I think you have to start with Parker Livingstone and Jack Indries. Both guys getting on the scoreboard twice. It seems like Arch may be building a connection, particularly with Livingstone right now.
I think also what may have helped him, because I was listening to I think it was Caleb Downs, him and his brother. Like they have him and Josh Downs, they have a podcast, whatever.
Yep.
They were talking about how they on certain plays were doubling Wingo. And on certain plays they would double Wingo and double Moore.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of this may just be favorable matchups too. That Wingo is getting a lot of attention because everybody assumes he was going to be the number one guy. It's interesting. I remember when Sark said, that in his offense, the ball naturally will find certain players, like just naturally, organically. And he said for the other guys, he'll have to scheme open ways for them, to be able to contribute, right, and produce. And I think we all assumed that it would naturally find Ryan Wingo. But the way it's working out is actually finding Parker Livingstone a little bit more. It seems, especially in critical moments, and they're maybe having to scheme open ways to get it to Ryan Wingo, which I did not expect. That's something I did not expect. The tight end position, that we expected, because Sark's tight end position, whether it was JT or whether it's Gunnar Helm, each year they produce more and more and contribute more and more. And Jack Indries coming in as a seasoned veteran, I think we all were pretty high that he was going to come in with some Gunnar Helm potentially type production. Hell, it may even exceed that. Who knows?
Brian, you think that the Longhorns found a little something with Parker Livingstone and Jack Indries? And I got to be honest. I mean, Ryan Wingo dropped one, too, early. That was a clean first down. He had some yards after catch to go there. And I will say this, Wingo's going to make that catch typically, but that felt like one of those sloppy plays that we talked about earlier. What did you think of the young receiver group or the receiver group at Texas today, Brian?
Yeah, I thought Parker Livingstone, I think this is 2 games now that I think he's played really well. I mean, I didn't think he'd get as many opportunities in the first game as what we'd have liked to have seen him do based on what he did get done last week. But this week, man, even today, he only got 4 catches, but he had 128 yards, okay? Even if you take away the one catch, okay, you take away the one catch of 83 yards, you're still looking at 10 yards per catch almost. So, about 10 yards per catch, almost a little over 10 yards. So to me, he's still moving the chains, right? And going back to kind of what you guys were talking about, this is how football works, man. When you're on fire and somebody else is the guy that's being regarded as the number one, they're going to do everything they can to take that guy out of the game. Texas does the same thing with Jeremiah Smith. Texas does the same thing if you play whoever. You know what I'm saying. Number one receiver, they're going to get taken away. Okay? So this is Parker Livingstone. This is DJ Moore's time to shine, right? And what's going to happen is all of a sudden some of these teams are going to be like, hey, man, like we can't let Livingstone beat us. And now all of a sudden Moore's going to start making catches. All right. Then they're going to we got to take away Moore and Livingstone. Now all of a sudden Wingo becomes – and the same thing happens on defense. When you start having to try to take care of certain guys, other guys are the ones that start making the big splash plays, and then it all evens out. And, I think for me, they just got to keep getting the ball into their playmakers' hands, right? If they're going to take away Wingo, keep giving it to Livingstone, keep giving it to Moore. until they figure out a way to stop them. And that's when the tight end's going to open up too. Because if they figure out we got two big-time receivers that we got to take care of, now the middle of the field opens up with your tight end game, things like that. Even the running game opens up a little more. So that's just how it works. And if you look at the way things have worked in the past with Sark's offense, that's normally how it works. The tight end gets a lot of play in this offense, but it has to be because you've got two receivers that are really making plays, and defenses get to a point where they got to take those guys away.
That's Brian Robeson, as well as Rod Babers here on the On Texas Football Postgame Show, brought to you by Flight. Guys, a couple of things to note before we get going. Texas played a lot of freshmen today, a lot. Nick Townsend included. We need to talk a little bit about him because he number 81 plays with a little you know what in his back. he plays good. But I want to mention this before we get going. It looked like Colin Simmons could have come back in that game on the injuries. DeAndre Moore, however, was out for the rest of the game. It looked like he had a little concussion, got his bell rung a little bit there on that play out in the flat. So we'll have to monitor him as well. Derek Williams did not play until late in the game. Trey Wisner did not play today, did not suit. Alex January did not suit today as well, the starting defensive tackle for the Longhorns. All of that coming to pass. All right. I would not be doing my job if I did not ask you guys to evaluate the offense here in the postgame. Texas having problems moving the ball. Was it the run game couldn't get uncorked? Was it the passing game and Arch Manning not feeling it? What was the inconsistency about on offense, or was it an amalgam of many things? Rob, what do you think, bud?
Yeah, I think you just hit it, Bobby. It was an amalgamation of many different things, right? Sometimes Arch would just miss a guy, didn't see him. I saw that Ryan Wingo over route. It was like, oh man, why didn't he pull that? Why didn't he, pull the trigger on that thing? It was wide open. Sometimes it was a drop. Saw Ryan Wingo, right? He's your top guy. He drops an easy, skinny post route that should have been money. I mean, shit, for him, it would have been another 8-9 yards after the pickup, and you'd have been on your way to getting in the red zone and putting some points on the board there. And penalties, as we brought up earlier, right? Penalties, you're your own worst enemy a lot of the times. So the penalties will put you behind the chains. And as Brian just mentioned, man, third and long, that's the third, average of 9 yards to go on your third downs. I mean, that's absolutely brutal. So I just think then sometimes those pass protection issues, sometimes they just brought, I mean, they brought 6 sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, they blitzed them and threw out some really, I thought, elaborate pressure schemes against Texas on those predictable passing downs. So it's not just one thing. It'd be easy to fix if it was just one thing. But it's like 5 or 6 different things. So execution is your biggest issue right now. Execution and focus on offense. For some reason, you just can't. They're out of sync. I mean, there's no synchronicity right now, and it's going to take some time. And until then, they got to make sure they can win with defense and special teams and field position. Because offensively, right now, you can put points on the board, but outside of that Sark run, you really didn't do much, and a lot of that was fueled by the defense giving you short fields. Yeah,
Brian, you agree with that assessment? A lot of different pieces. We need to break down Arch Manning here as well. What did you think of the offense as a whole? And then we'll get into Arch individually.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, even if you look at the drives here, you've got a -4 drive, you got a 1-yard drive, you got a -1 yard drive, you got a -7 yard drive. And if you look at the time of possession on those drives, I mean, they're very short possessions. You're putting your defense in a very bad position because they've only been off the field for a minute of time, and they got to go right back out and try to get the ball back. So once again, when you start getting into some of these big time games like that, that's going to wear on your defense. And we saw a little bit of that at times last year with the defense. We kept wondering, are they going to be able to hold up? Are they going to be able to hold up? And they were. And, but this is a different team. You just don't know. But the penalties has to be, to me, a top priority to get shored up, because you can fix all the other stuff, right? You can go into the film room, you can make the adjustments, you can make sure that Arch, as a player, I'm in the film room making sure that I see those the next time those opportunities come up. The penalties, that's something that a lot of times either comes from fatigue when you're just not thinking correctly, right? Or it's something that you're just not where you're supposed to be, right? And so to me, that's something that you have to shore up first and foremost, because everything else just comes from timing, from effort, from different things like that. The penalty deal, like, I understand some of those, they're just mistakes, right? But some of these penalties, especially the pre-snap ones, that is something you can control. And if you can't control that, then there's an issue there.
All right, let's start our Arch Manning discussion with this, because I think it's indicative of the expectations we all have of Arch Manning, right? Brandon Dewey, who I saw today over at the tailgate, says Arch threw 4 TDs and scored on a touchdown run, and quote, he sucks. Brandon, I know Brandon, he's saying that facetiously, right? But those are the level of expectations. Was Arch Manning perfect? Let's look at his stats, Matt. Of course he wasn't perfect. Was he better today than he was last Saturday? I think so. But look, 19 of 30, 295, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Also had the touchdown run. I thought he ran effectively typically. Felt pretty good in the pocket. Made one really bad mistake with the forced throw.
Yep.
But Brian, what did you think of Arch's day? And then I'll ask you the same question, Rod.
I think he had a good day. Okay. And I'm going to be honest with you. All right. Perception is reality, right? So going into the Ohio State game, if he has this game against Ohio State, everybody still has him as the front runner for the Heisman race, right? But the fact of the matter is everybody hypes him up during the offseason without having real starting time, right? Not understanding he's young. He's got to grow into it, everything like that, right? So we've created this whole he's not even living on planet Earth. He's in Manning land, okay? So you've created this, and then he doesn't have a perfect game, and it wasn't great by all means, but all of a sudden he's not good. He's not good. I mean, that's all we've heard all week, right? He comes out and has this type of game. And if you look at it subjectively, non-objectively, and you look at it and you say, man, he had a pretty good day. He had a pretty good. Now, when you watch the game, was it perfect? No. Was there some downs? Yes. There was a lot of ups and downs. He made one mistake with the ball on a blitz that probably shouldn't have happened, and I'm sure he knows that. But at the end of the day, you take these numbers and you put them on a quarterback that has a different name than Manning, and we're all sitting here giving him pretty good praises. So I think the problem is right now is we have to look at this non-objectively. We have to look at it as this is a young quarterback that has to come into his own, right? You put all this whole persona on him as this Heisman candidate, not saying you can't be, but you put that on him before he was ready for that. And so Arch is just like the offense. We're talking about the offense. They're going to have to get some timing down. They're going to have to get into games, meaningful situations where they start to learn some of these things. And I think what you're going to see is Manning is going to get better as the season goes along. Where the next test really will be for him is when we get to a Florida and the pressure does come back on him. How does he respond to that type of situation?
Good stuff, Ryan. What are your thoughts on that, in particular, the part about him needing to just continue to improve, Rod? Because that's kind of how I feel. He just needs to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, just I think Brian's right. He just needs reps, right? Just needs reps. Just play more. I've already seen things that I like about his game. I talked about him, and he's really good in straight drop back situations. I think some of his best throws are just straight drop back situations. We've seen his scrambling ability. He actually executed the scramble drill a couple of times in this game. They were really successful. And B-Rob, you know what a weapon that could be, man. The scramble drill. That's like 3 plays in one you got to defend.
Yep.
And he had that scrambling touchdown. And he actually took one catch off the board in the scramble drill, that Parker Livingstone. That was a nice play. So I like that. I think that's an asset for him as well. I think his deep ball or the deeper ball is going to end up being an asset for him overall. I know in this game he missed a couple of those throws, but I think this deep ball actually is an asset for him. So I've seen some things that I already like from him. I just think, Brian's right. The expectations were crazy. They were just way over the top that he was going to come out of the gate and be, the number 1 overall pick kind of Manning and win the Heisman. And I get that because he's got the name. But if he continues to develop on this track, I do think he has a chance to still meet expectations. It's just not going to be on the timeline that we all thought. And that's fine. It's got to be on his timeline. Was he perfect in this game? No, but I still thought in this game, like I said, I saw strides, I saw improvement, and I know it was up against San Jose State. I get that, but it's got to be a thing where we don't see regression from him. We got to see him get better week to week because at this point, I'm not sure what the identity of the offense is going to be. I assume, the running game was going to be something that's going to be for them. So they can hang their hat on, your identity is something you do as well, if not better than everybody else. But after watching this game, I'm not necessarily sure. I thought you were going to have a more of a dominant run performance versus San Jose State. And then, initially everybody thought Arch is going to be the identity of the offense. Well, I don't know if we can afford to have that happen because he's still developing and growing. There'll be growing pains. So I'm still interested to see what the identity of the offense is going to be. I don't know right now if they really have one. And not that hurts them, but I'm just saying like that usually comes out of you being able to do something really well consistently. And it's only 2 games, but I don't know if they have that, if I have that already.
Well, they got to eliminate the mistakes. They didn't have Trey Wisner as well, Rod, today. I think that Trey Wisner has a little juice to him that I think he brings to the offense. They can't drop passes. You mentioned Ryan. I mentioned Ryan Wingo early. There was a time in that game with Arch, by the way, I want to mention this, where they had a chance to score 5 straight touchdowns. And Arch on a 3rd down play really uncorked one to Wingo deep.
Yep.
And he threw it out of the back of the end zone.
Yep.
And probably missed him by a good 2 or 3 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But to see that and to try that, I thought that's going to end up, if he can show some elusiveness in the pocket and step up, I think that may end up being your as he gets comfortable in the pocket, that may end up being the identity of your offense. Actually, is power run with or cutback runs with Weiser, power runs with Cedric Baxter, who looked again,
shots,
and then shots with Arch
downfield.
That's what we saw. That's what he other than the 2 to Jack injuries, by the way, all those big plays were shot plays. I thought we'll see how it goes.
I think too, and kind of going back to what me and Rod have been talking about with some of the penalties and stuff, man. And it really just kind of dawned on me, and you kind of hit on it earlier, Bobby, like this is normally a sign of a young team too.
Yes.
When you really think about it, I think a lot of us forget how young this team really is. I mean, when you look at even the guys that are making plays right now, they're young. Even a guy like C.J. Baxter that you've been accustomed to know his name, let's not forget he missed a whole season last year. He's really only played 1 season. Mm-hmm. And so even for him, it's a young guy. You've got Parker Livingstone, who's a freshman. I'm just going to put it out there right now before Rod gets to it. Watson, who's going to be my defensive player of the game, he's a young guy. I mean, so for me, that's a sign of you can get these young guys to eliminate some of those issues. Whew, Tex fans got something to be excited about. And it goes back to the same thing with Arch Manning. He is young. He's very young. He has not been the starter yet until this year, right? So he's going to have that learning curve. And like you said, if they can get some of these things where it opens up other aspects of the offense, and you start, like you said, you start getting some of these power runs, like Texas was able to dominate A&M last year with some of these power runs. And you start all of a sudden, now you start opening up the shot. As a defense, what do you stop? Do you stop the power runs or do you stop the shot? Because in all actuality, it's not like you're saying, hey, we're going to stop an RPO by stopping the run game and making them pass. Or, hey, we got to stop these crossing routes because they want to be able to play. Now, all of a sudden, it's like you have two totally opposite ends of the spectrum that you have to defend, which causes you, if I'm defending shots, I got to get my safeties back. I got to get my corners to play some off coverage, or they got to disrupt at the line of scrimmage. Okay? But if I got to stop the run, well, I got to bring my linebackers up. I got to bring safeties up as run support. So what do you do then? You're in a catch-22 either way you go.
Yep.
Rod, Brian mentions that as far as the identity of the offense, and we talked about that. He mentioned Murad Watson on defense. Let me ask you guys this.
Beast mode.
Let me ask you guys this. The positives coming from this game, obviously a victory. Parker Livingstone's it's not a one-time thing with him.
Yeah.
That's a big positive in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Injury's not a one-time thing with him. He had a good game against Ohio State too, right? Cedric Baxter looks fully back. I mean, I don't know if he has the same burst he once had, but he certainly has the toughness in the heart, I think. That's the good stuff on offense. On defense, holding a team to only 7 points is good, but the real thing is takeaways, right? A week after Sark got 0 and Texas got 0, he made an emphasis, and lo and behold, the Longhorns end up with 4, and 3 of them on forced fumbles, 2 from Anthony Hill. So I feel like as the defense goes, they played bend but don't break. They played a 5-man box like half the game. Mm-hmm. I was like, what are they doing? They were inviting them to run essentially. What did y'all think of the defense as a whole? And Rod, I'll start with you on the defense because as I looked at it, I felt like they played good, but not great. There were some openings at times. Grayson Littleton got beat. What was your overall take?
Obviously takeaways. I'm with you. I mean, if you're a defense, I mean, you can't get better. That's the ultimate cheat code, right? Is to get takeaways, get your offense back to football, and to get 4 of those in a game. Hard for me to be uber critical of the defense, and they only allowed 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. I want to frame my critique with that right there. They got 4 turnovers and put 7 on the board. So that's a successful day on defense, all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. But if you want to just kind of be uber critical, I will say as a DB, I'll start with my people. I thought, the quarterback, Egat, missed some throws, and I thought they got behind the Texas DBs a couple of times. I thought they attacked some guys specifically, and they went after the freshman, Grayson Littleton. And who wouldn't, right? Ohio, by the way, everybody's going to go after a freshman that's starting. That's all. I mean, you're a fool if you don't. And he won't be a freshman by the mid-season SEC play. But right now he is. And you see when Ohio State seen Grayson Littleton out there, what they say, freshman out there, let's go. Back-to-back plays. He rose to the occasion, balled out, and now the nation was talking about this freshman's amazing. He had the highest pro football focus grade for any cornerback, freshman cornerback in the country. And it's like, and I just think in this game, it just shows you that's why football is such a great sport. And Brian knows this, right? Because yes, we know Grayson Littleton can play with the most talented players in the country because he went out there and did it against Ohio State. But also, Scudero, all right, my man Scudero, I'm trying to roll the tongue with it, but he went out there and gave them Texas DB some of the business, right? And is he as talented as the Ohio State receivers? Not even close. Not even close. But he's a veteran. He's technically sound, knows how to run routes, very savvy. All right. And, Texas, I think, may have underestimated him. He went out there, put some couple of double moves, and he got separation. Egat just really couldn't hit him on some of those throws. So I think that's a lesson for the young DB, right? That's what it is to be a freshman. It's sometimes an inconsistent play. You saw the upside. Upside is he can play like the best, one of the best DBs in the country, and with the most talented wide receivers in the country. He can be on that field, but also you want to have a baseline of consistency as a young player. And I think this game kind of showcased that young guys are inconsistent. Kind of going back to what Brian said, young team, you get penalties, you get inconsistent play too from some of those young guys. And so you want more of the upside and less of the downside. So to be and everything went after Gilbo a little bit too. Gilbo got him a pick, probably should have had 2. All right. When they go after you, it's okay because everybody gonna get beat, right? They got beat. All right. You want to make more plays than you give up as a DB. I think that's kind of the new rule, especially when you're going against a team that throw it 40-something times. And Gilbo should have got 2 picks. He got his hands on 1, but that's the name of the game. Make more plays you give up. And I think, for Texas, getting their hands on some footballs was a positive, but they got behind him. The quarterback just couldn't make the play. So they got to get better. And the pass rush for Texas, I think PK's got to help out the pass rush a little bit. I think he's got to help him out with some different looks and twists and stunts. I got to go look and see how many. Brian would know better than me, but I think Texas really is leaning on just organic pass rush a lot. And I want to see him mix it up a little bit and help these guys out with some different looks. They did in the NASCAR give like the 6-man face where it's just everybody up in the ghost front, and that was good. They dropped 2 and they would rush 4. But I don't know. I think maybe I'd like to see them give a little bit more schematic support for those guys in the pass rush game.
Brian, what did you think of the defense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally going to piggyback off of Rod here and just continue what his conversation was, because I agree with all that. I think what you saw today was a very vanilla game plan against the San Jose State. I think that's what you saw. I think you saw a team that said, hey, we can beat them playing our base defense. Let's just go out there, play our assignments, and see how it turns out. I think the positive of this, I think you found 2 noses today, really. I think 2 noses played really well today. It was Watson and Canu. Canu had a couple of good plays in there, gaining some penetration. And to me, that is one of the most important pieces of a defense. If you've got a nose that can get after somebody, especially when you're running just like a 3-man front, and you've got a nose that can gain penetration the way those guys were doing it today, that's a big piece of being successful down the road. I mean, you look at any 3-4 defense that's very successful, they've always got a nose that is a man there in the middle. And so I think that was a positive coming out today. I also think that, going to what Rod was saying, I think San Jose State did a pretty good job today of giving Texas different levels, I guess is the best way I could put it. They gave some inside routes that were a little bit shallower and things like that, while letting those outside guys go deep. And I think what you saw sometimes the DBs were expecting, hey, this ball should be out by now. It should be out by now. And then they're behind them. And now the ball's coming. And, when you got a guy that's throwing the ball 42 times, you're going to get beat. Like you said, like Rod said, you're going to get beat at some point, right? It's about minimalizing the damage, right? And so I think Texas did that for the most part. They did play that bend, don't break defense that you were talking about, Bobby. So I think overall, I still think the defense looked pretty good, considering that, in my opinion, it looked like a very, very vanilla game plan.
Yeah, it was vanilla from a Texas standpoint, other than the fact that they were running the 5 in the box. That's I've never seen, I don't think, Texas run 5 in the box as much as they have. Maybe they feel that like they could do that a little bit with Ty Anthony Smith, because he was the guy in the middle on a lot of those. I'm intrigued. I need to go back and watch the film, you know what I mean, and look at it again. But I'm wondering, and he played a lot today. 6 tackles.
Yeah, and go back and watch Bob, because he plays on the NASCAR package too.
Yeah, that's what
I remember Anthony Hill. He's the NASCAR linebacker, so he really doesn't lead the field much when they have on early downs. Go back and watch the safeties, Bobby. I'll give you credit, because you said this offseason you were wondering if Texas is going to play more 3 high. They're giving the 3 high shell a lot. When they basically pre-snap, they'll back up Grayson Littleton almost as that other safety, and then sometimes they'll do the inverted 3 high where they drop 2 and then they invert that other safety. Maybe it's Taft a lot of the times as that invert defender, or they'll just drop single high and bring Jalen McDonald, McDonald, and also bring down Grayson Littleton. So I didn't expect Texas to use it as much, but they used it more in this game than they did in the Ohio State game, and I thought they used it a lot in the Ohio State game.
All right, Brian, also I want to mention, you talked about Murad Watson, the transfer from Syracuse. I thought they were going to give that whole sack to Colin Simmons, but they did not. They gave it a half each to Colin Simmons and Murad Watson.
Mm-hmm.
And then that not roughing, what was it? Incomplete, not the incomplete pass. I can't remember. Grounding. When the intentional grounding, they gave that sack to Murad Watson. And so he ended up with a sack and a half. Who would have thought that Murad Watson right now would be leading the team 2 games in sacks? A big old nose tackle. But that's what he's doing at this point. You mentioned he's your defensive MVP. At some level, Anthony Hill is starting to cause turnovers. And your disruptors have to be your disruptors. We talked about that. Your playmakers on offense need to be your playmakers for Texas to be great. Mm-hmm. Your playmakers on defense need to be great. And I felt like Anthony Hill showed a little bit of that.
Yep.
So, Brian, you went with Murad Watson. You said, I'll go with Anthony Hill. Rod, you could be the tiebreaker or choose somebody else altogether.
Oh, man, that's good. That is a good one. Because Murad Watson, there were several times where I seen him just beat his guy so damn bad. The play was dead. He just beat his guy really just off the, kind of off the ball, and he kind of whiffed on Murad Watson. So he stood out to me. He really did. So I like Brian's, and it's hard for a D tackle not to be leading the team in sacks. That's pretty wild. I agree with you on that, Bobby. But man, turnovers are the name of the game. Takeaways. Nothing changes game like a takeaway. And you gotta have a guy like Anthony Hill in the heart of your defense who forced 2 fumbles in this game. I'm with you. That's a game changer. Literally, he's a game changer. Guy changes the game with his presence out there, and he's doing it intention. I see punch the dude in the face because he's trying to punch through the ball every time. Right? I love that. I love his attitude. So I'm gonna go with Anthony Hill. Ended up being second on the team in tackles behind Michael Taft, who was they had him as that single deep high safety. They have him as a lot. He's either the inverted safety or that deep high safety. And I like the way that he patrols, but man, Anthony Hill, 2 forced fumbles. That's legit.
Yeah. 2 forced fumbles. And you know what else, guys, that I saw out of not just Anthony Hill, but Leonga Lafau made a great batted down pass on a 4th down play. Anthony Smith had the turnover.
And strip and the recovery.
Linebackers and guys up the middle. So you mentioned Watson, right, Brian? I talked about Hill and Lafau and those guys. And then, Rod, you also mentioned Taft.
Yeah.
Up the middle of the defense. Should be you want it to be your strength. We all thought going in it might be the edges. Be interesting to see if up the middle of the defense ends up being a strength.
I've done studies on it and looked at the best defenses in Texas football history or recently, and Brian was on a couple of those. The central nervous system of the defense hadn't been a good one without a central nervous system that's really good. And that's your deep tackle, that's those off-ball linebackers and those safeties. And I even throw that star in there, that nickel in there, because a lot of times we're working with that linebacker group. That central nervous system, that's got to be really strong. And that it's usually about football IQ. Usually about football IQ and football instincts. That's in that central nerve. And those are the guys who are the air traffic controllers. They're the ones communicating the checks and the audibles. It's the safeties. It's the inside off-ball linebackers. They're the ones moving guys around. And I love the fact that that's right now showing as a strength for Texas. The edges and the corners, they'll get there. But if you're strong right there, Brian, you right. To me, that's your veterans and your football IQ and that central nervous system. To me, if that's strong, you're gonna be good.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about it earlier with the offense. When you get certain guys that really get going, people got to account for that. So they got to start making changes. And it goes the same way with defense. If an offense comes out there and says, hey, we cannot run up the middle, we cannot do anything in the middle, we've got to find a way to get on the edges. That's when your star edge rushers, that's when your outside linebackers, that's when your DBs start really coming into effect. So now they start having success. We used to have a saying in Minnesota when we played is everybody eats together, right? But then what went along that is you got to do your job so the man next to you can have success doing his job, right? And basically what that means is every man's got to do his job. And if you do your job, eventually those plays are going to come to you.
Yeah.
And that's what it's got to be. Like, as a defense, and listen, I could easily call Anthony. I'm just going to backtrack here a little bit. I could call Anthony Hill, the get player of the game, but I feel like he's going to win enough awards this year, so I'm not going to give it to him. I'll give him this. He might end the season with the Mike Tyson right hook of the year.
I love it. Hey, we talk about this. Let's switch over to the offense. Talk about offensive MVP. Because we didn't go there. But I think that Parker Livingstone may be in that discussion, right? Jack Indries could be in that discussion. Mm-hmm. Arch Manning, even though he had the one pick, could be in that discussion. He did account for 5 total touchdowns. I'm going to add another guy to the discussion, although I'm not going to pick him. I'm telling you, I'm in love with Nick Townsend as a blocker now. I mean, go back to the first series of the third quarter for Texas, and he literally just depleted a defensive end to a level that, I mean, he was he had to come out of the game. I think he was so excited. But seriously, offensive player of the game, Manning 19 of 30 for 295, Livingstone 4 for $128, including that 83-yarder. And then you had also Jack Indries with 2 for 52, but 2 touches. Who did y'all go with? Who y'all going to go with as offensive player of the game? Brian stood out there first on defense. What do you got on offense, buddy?
I'm gonna go with Parker Livingstone. I know Arch was delivering him the football, but he's kind of the surprise of the season so far. I know there was a lot of talk about how he had improved in the offseason and now had firmly earned his place in the circle of trust, if you will, for Sark. But I think early on with teams trying to take away Ryan Wingo, trying to take away DeAndre Moore, there does seem to be some natural chemistry between he and Arch. And, we know Ryan Wingo's a dude. All right? And he's gonna find his groove, right? So whether it's been because teams are taking him away or because, he had a drop here or there, or because, his route running has been inconsistent, I'm not worried about Ryan Wingo. Like, I really am not. Like, I know what he's capable of, and I know what kind of skill set he has. And I've seen DeAndre Moore be productive. You know what I mean? So I get those guys. But Parker Livingstone, we were unsure about whether Parker Livingstone was going to be able to contribute at a high level. We believed it, and we had heard about it in practice, but to see it in the game is something different. So for him to produce, I think is great, because you now truly have, 3 guys in the circle of trust that you believe you can rely on to make big plays in critical moments. And like I said, I know Ryan Wingo early on has been struggling, right? Inconsistent. The ball's not finding him naturally. I get that, but I do have faith that that'll happen, because he's uber talented. Arch is uber talented, and Sark wants Ryan Wingo to be the number 1 guy. So I do believe that'll happen, but I don't think anybody suspected that Parker Livingstone would be kind of boss hogging right now, the top dog spot for the wide receiver position. And he's earned it, like contested catches and long touchdown catches and runs. Like, no doubt, I got to give the man his respect. And I think Arch right now, maybe Arch was looking for him on a couple of throws too.
The one that was called. The one that was called back was his actual best catch of the game.
That scramble drill throw, yeah. And that was another deep one where he was looking for him, and Arch kind of went up checking it down. He's gonna start looking for him more. If you're a quarterback, you can't help but when some of your best plays come from when you throw the ball to that guy. Trust me, subconsciously you're like, man, I'm throwing the ball to that guy, and that's what's gonna happen more. So I that's my guy right now. I go over to Parker Livingstone, but
Brian, Parker Livingstone, or are you going somewhere else, buddy?
No, I'm going Parker Livingstone. I don't think there's anywhere to go. I mean, you can make the argument for Arch, but I got to go with Parker Livingstone. I mean, when you've got a guy that's got 4 catches for 128 yards and 74 of it was after catch. I mean, and this is the second week in a row that he showed out. I mean, he's slowly stapling himself as a go-to wide receiver and stapling himself as a big threat. So I'm rolling with that one.
All right, I'm going to be different than y'all. No, I'm not.
Shocker.
I'm going with Parker Livingstone too.
There it is. There it is.
I got to be honest. All right, hey, we've got Steve Sarkisian's opening statement here from the microphone, talking about this game against San Jose State.
The good. We talked all week. You guys have heard me talking all week about our ability to generate turnovers on defense. That it wasn't just about stopping people, but that we needed to attack the football more. And clearly we did that in the first half, getting the 4 turnovers in a variety of ways, and a bunch of different people creating those turnovers with Jelani with the tipped interception, the forced fumble, Anthony Hill 2 forced fumbles, Anthony Smith forced fumble and a recovery, Trey Moore fumble recovery, Jalen Gilbo. So a lot of different people, but a lot of similar people I talked about who could generate those turnovers during the week. And so the idea that our guys were able to, or that we were able to get what we emphasized, I thought was a huge component of that. I thought offensively, Arch played a really good game, that we were able to create explosive pass plays, and we're at our best as an offensive football team when we can run it and create those explosive pass plays. Parker Livingstone had a nice game. Jack Andrews had a nice game. A lot of different people played, and so there was a lot of positives there that we were able to play complementary football, which a week ago I didn't think we did a great job of that. When we had opportunities to play as complementary as a team, we didn't. Today we did. We got turnovers. We turned them into points. So that was a real positive there. The game definitely got sloppy, and there's a ton of things that we need to improve upon as a team. 12 penalties, 115 yards, came a variety of ways. 2 turnovers. I think the one from Arch, lesson learned. Sometimes it's okay to say, wave the white flag, take the sack, or throw it away, and you kick a field goal, and he forced it there. I think he'll learn and grow from that. That's something that he's shown us to be able to do, is learn from mistakes as we go. But just, you start playing a lot of young players, which we were playing a lot of young guys today. Some young player mistakes reared their ugly heads, and then we had a couple of veteran players make some mistakes today too. So we got to clean some things up, I think, in all 3 phases. But all in all, it's good to get a win. It's good to be back home, knowing we got the next couple here. The goal for us is to improve. We got to get better, and so we're going to celebrate this thing for 24 hours on Monday. I'm going to come in here and have a good, bad, and ugly, and I'm going to have a real bullet-pointed list of things that we need to improve upon, and that's what we'll do going over the next week.
He was talking about the sloppiness a little bit of that play today. We talked about that right out of the gate, guys, and he mentioned the 12 penalties for 115 yards. He also mentioned that some older guys committed some of those penalties. Malik Muhammad had the roughing the punter. You had Colin Simmons with a couple of offsides and a roughing the passer. It felt that's part of it. You had Ryan Wingo with the drop. There were some guys that have seen some action that you expect more out of. And I will say this, all 3 of those 4 guys I just mentioned are true sophomores. And so they are still actually quite young. And this is one of the reasons why I still believe that Texas is going to be a much better team late in the year, as long as they can stay healthy. I tell you, the Colin Simmons injury scared me a little bit. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Because that could be a guy that could end up being. But I feel like there's a lot of meat left on the bone for this Texas offense and defense, and even special teams, because of how sloppy the game was overall. Y'all agree with that? You think? I mean, clearly there's room for improvement left here.
I think it's pretty official that Stark obviously gets on here to see what he's talking about at the end of the game. So no, I mean, it's exactly what we're talking about. I mean, you got a young team that's making a lot of just young mistakes. I think the deal with Colin Simmons is Colin's been in this situation, right? But I think what's happening right now is we all know he did a little talking before Ohio State and things like that. I think he's starting to press a little bit. I think he's starting to try to push to make the plays versus just being who you are and doing what you got to do and letting the plays come to you. I think that's just a little bit of what we saw today. I think he smelt a little blood in the water and obviously was trying to go get it, but just, over anticipated it a little bit. But And then just, the play where he hit the quarterback, I mean, to me, that's something where you could have easily just avoided. So I think that's kind of what you're getting out of Colin. But for the most part, I think Sark said exactly what we've been discussing. It's just sloppy play a little bit. A lot of it comes down to youth. A lot of it comes down to, timing, situational stuff. It just seems like they're still not on the same page yet, and once they get that, I think they're going to be fine. It was sloppy against San Jose State, but let's not forget they did play Ohio State last week, and I think is going to, I don't think that was a fluke deal. I think Ohio State's going to be one of the best defenses in the country at the end of the year. I think they're going to be one of the top teams probably going to the playoff. So it's not like we've played two games against two people that aren't very good. We played a heck of a ball game last week and just, unfortunately just couldn't put things together. And you saw that again today is they've got to learn a way to get these things together. Whatever it is, the timing, the youthful mistakes, stuff like that, if they shore up those problems, they can find themselves here in the next few games where they begin to hit on all cylinders and we start talking about this Texas football team in a lot of ways possibly creating a dynasty, because when you start to look at how young they really are, and if they can play throughout the SEC and they can play a team like Ohio State late in the year and get through the playoffs, you're talking about a team that could be around for the next few years.
Yeah, I get your point on that. Hey, guys, it's time to start taking some questions. We're going to get CJ Vogel in here in a little bit as well. Hope to hear from him. He was live at the press conference. Let's go to the chat line. Daniel Earp, is OSU's D-line suspect? Because Texas was able to run last week a little bit. Or is our O-line weak? Or did we just not play to the standard? You didn't have Trey Wisner. Because I will say this, Christian Clark did not have a great debut for Texas. I'm not sure he sees the cutback lane as well as Trey Wisner. What did you think of the O-line, though, and was it its issues amplified by the loss of Wisner, Rod?
I think we got to see a little bit more. I need to see, a little more sample size, because it could have just been Ohio State. You talked about this, Bobby, that Ohio State was giving you the run in a lot of ways, right? Deciding, no, we're going to take away certain elements in the passing game and take away things for Arch. And they've been giving you some things in the running game, favorable numbers in the running game. And, against San Jose State, I assume, because Central Michigan, I believe, ran for like almost 250 yards against San Jose State. So I thought Texas would run the ball really well against them, even without Trey Wisner. I still was thinking, oh man, they're going to run the ball pretty well, and they did. They weren't able to impose their will, especially if you take away Arch's scrambling yards and Arch's rushing yards, and take away the I think the reverse they have for Ryan Wingo. I mean, you're still averaging 4.5 yards per carry, which is not bad. But I assume that you'd be able to be dominant in the run game. So I don't know if you had all offseason to prepare for Ohio State, so maybe you just had those concepts ready to go and you were great at executing them. But that should translate from week to week, because you got core concepts in the running game or core concepts in the running game. It's what you do. It's your bread and butters, right? You're ready to run your counter, or whether it's power for you or whether it's outside zone, whatever Texas wants to do. So I'm a little confused there. I thought, like I said, they weren't incompetent. I'm not saying, oh, they were bad. I thought they would be much better, considering the running game traveled versus Ohio State. So that's something I think we need to see over these next 3 games, if that actually is going to be a strength for Texas. Because I'm not sure right now if going to SEC play, I'd be like, oh yeah, I that's something I can count on if I'm a Texas fan. I'm not sure about it right now, honestly.
I think you're right about the run blocking. It was just too mixed. The results were too mixed. There was no consistency, right? Texas wasn't until the very end. The fourth quarter, they started moving them a little bit.
And maybe that's because, exactly, maybe you just wore them out, which makes sense. You outweighed them by like 40 pounds per man.
Yeah. But I will say this. I want to get, Brian, your take on Texas in pass protection. Because actually there was a lot of time that Arch had some time back there, and there were other times where it felt like they just had some communication issues. What did you think of Texas offensive line and pass protection?
Yeah, I mean, Man, I think the big deal is the cohesiveness of the offensive line. I think that's something that to me is lacking a little bit. I think when you look at what we've had the last 2 or 3 years here at the University of Texas, you've had kind of, for the most part, the same group of guys. And you've maybe replaced one, here, but for the most part, especially the interior guys, those guys had played together, for quite a while. And I think what you're seeing here is you're seeing a combination of, just some lack of cohesiveness. I think you're seeing some young guys that haven't gotten a lot of meaningful playing time, and now they're kind of being thrust into the situation. And am I giving them an excuse, giving them out? No. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you get your opportunity, you got to go out there and play. But I think Baker's got to get a little bit better on that right side. I think the tight end's got to help a little bit better too, especially in the pass game. We had one that that 45 had 2 rushes there, one over Baker and one over the tight end. I think it was
84.
Washington.
84, yeah.
And just honestly, good pass rush move by him. But we've got to be able to shore up those things. And I think, I'm not going to say Ohio State's D-line is lacking, because here's the deal. We know Ohio State is always going to have a plethora of D-linemen that they can bring in and bring out. They just always had that. And so I think it was a situation where I think across the board, we've talked about it the whole show. I just don't think Texas played up to par today when you look at it from across the board. I don't know whether it was oversight, like, hey, we're looking past these guys, or we put everything we've had into Ohio State, and now, we're kind of in a lull after that and kind of in this lazy mode. I don't know, but I think the offensive line has to get a little bit better cohesiveness, and I think it'll help them if they can figure out how all 5 of them work together. And that's what I'm seeing is there's a lot of individual matchups that was being lost today versus all 5 of them working together as a group.
All right, guys, I've got some scores from other games before we get to what's going on to the Texas game. I want to mention these real quick. How about this one? Baylor defeats SMU 48-45.
Ooh,
48-45. That's an old school
Big 12, baby.
Right,
yeah, that's an old school.
that is a big one. Ohio State's up 28-0 on Grambling at this point. Georgia is a delayed game right now, up 14-3. Kentucky up 10-0 on Ole Miss. Kentucky, Texas plays later, beat Ole Miss in Oxford. Maybe Mark Stoops has Lane Kiffin's number a little bit. We'll have to wait and see. All right, before we get to those questions, I also want to mention thank you to our sponsor. Flight is the next generation of light beer with only 95 calories. It's an easy drinking upscale light beer designed to elevate your taste buds with just 2.6 carbs per serving. Flight's an easy-to-drink beer with a clean, crisp taste. Try Flight from Yuengling. Thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends at Faust Distributing. 4.2% alcohol beverage brewed by DJ Yuengling and Son, America's oldest brewery, that is Flight by Yuengling. All right, other comments here that we got coming in. Bean, I'm a little long. I'm a little scared, it looks like, or a little shaky on our secondary with long passes. Sark still sits idle in the driveway in the third quarter. 12 penalties over 100 yards. Let's we haven't talked about this. Sark still sits idle in the driveway in the third quarter. You wanted him to go out and put that game away, right? Up 28-7. They did not go out there and really put it away. Maybe necessarily they did score 10 points in the second half, but little issue there with Sark in the second half, or is that just the offense not being a well-oiled machine, as we've kind of chronicled already?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you scored. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, last week it was the fourth quarter where you came to life against Ohio State. And this game, yeah, I mean, I agree. Third quarter is still an issue right now. you could make the argument that your third quarter woes from last season have somehow you got a field goal. I guess there was points, but that your third quarter woes have now continued into 2025 somehow, along with some other issues. But yeah, through 2 games, I don't have faith that your third quarter issues have been resolved.
Okay, fair. This one from Samuel. Can we talk about wide receiver screens? I think only one went for positive yards, and the offensive line getting manhandled by smaller deal. We talked a little bit about the O-line already. What about those wide receiver screens, guys? And thank you, Samuel, for your super chat. I felt like it's hard when Ryan Niblett is your lead blocker on 2 of them. I mean, I know he's a tough little dude, but he's not exactly the big guy out there if he's the leading blocker. Is there a reason those aren't working like they did with Quinn maybe? Or is it personnel? What's the deal?
I think number one, you got to get the running game going. I think you've got to get the running game going, and once you do that, you can open up that a little bit more, because what happens is the defense starts to tighten up. They start to bring it in. Now all of a sudden you start running some of these screens, you get them out on the edge. Well, now all of a sudden they start widening back up, and that's when you open the running game back up. So I think those things work hand in hand. If you look at it, they were averaging 4.8 yards per carry throughout the game. But to me, that's not enough, especially for a team like San Jose State. That's not enough for them to sell out on the run. Like, I think if you're San Jose State and you're saying, hey, we're allowing them, 5 yards to carry, but they're going to try to get more arch going. Like, let's defend this pass. Let's throw them a bunch of different looks. Let's do some blitzes, stuff like that. If they're going to beat us on the run, let them beat us on the run, right? And you would think, okay, a smaller defensive line would be easy. But how often do we have these conversations where how do these guys not manhandle a smaller defensive line? Because the smaller defensive line is quicker. They know how to move. They know how to get in gaps. That creates issues for your big guys. So I think those are some of the things that we forget when we watch this stuff. But I think at the end of the day, what he's talking about, you have to be able to create a ground and pound run game to open up some of these wide receiver screens, or you have to really be able to beat them deep where they start backing off in the coverage. And even that really doesn't help much, because now they're keeping the ball in front of them and they can play downhill. So I think that's what we're seeing, is they need to open that run game up more. Once they start hitting some of these big hits, these 10, 11, 12-yard runs, and now, boom, they pop it outside, that's when the things are going to really open up. And as far as even on the screen games, those smaller defensive linemen can run a little bit, more sideline to sideline. So you've got those guys coming inside out as well, helping out on that stuff.
That's interesting. I feel like this wide receiver screen game is missing something right now. And it may be what you're talking about, Brian, people playing a little bit more soft and allowing Texas to run the ball a little bit more at times. I feel like something's there. May be the lack of an interior run game. And that may be, to your point, that may very well be it. All right, Justin Yarbrough, this is a very young team. Need to get back to work and clean some stuff up, hook them. Justin, Brian went over that with you at length. I think he would say right on that one for sure. This one from Roy Womack. Should we be worried about wide receiver depth and overall speed on offense? I remember big speed plays in these NC games, non-conference games by Bond, Blue, Golden. We talked all off season about this. Who are going to be the big playmakers? I will say this. I mean, Parker Livingstone, he's a 200, 400-meter guy. He pulled away there at the end from that DB. But, I mean, I think that this is a good question because – and I want to say this. It's not just at receiver.
No.
They lack speed right now. I mean, Jaden Blue.
Back, yeah.
And Bijan Robinson before. I mean, even Jonathan Brooks hit some big runs. They may not have – if Trey Weiser's not there, they may not have a big run guy that's a 15-plus, 20-yard-plus runner right now.
They are bigger on offense, period. They still have speed. What you guys are talking about is world-class speed, right? Xavier Worthy set the record for the 40-yard dash at the combine. Matthew Golden ran a 4.2. Isaiah Bond was a 4.3 guy. So you guys are talking about world-class speed. They don't have speed. They got speed. but they're bigger. They're bigger at wide receiver, tight end. We were talking about them being more physical at the tight end position. Running back, they're bigger. Such backs is about as big as you got to go back to like Ricky, kind of running backs that are as big as that. It's huge. So overall, hell, even Arch, big. They're bigger. It's a bigger. So I do think that was an emphasis on we want bigger athletes. They're still great athletes. They're bigger. And although there's an emphasis on speed always with Sark, I will admit this is definitely, if you want to say, it may be one of his slower offenses overall. And that's just only because he has world-class speed on his previous offense.
I have 4.21 and a 4.29, you know?
Yeah. So if you want to say that legitimately for the purposes of debate, you could be right. Yes, this is one of the slower offenses that Sark has had, but let's not act like it's not loaded with talent and speed. And, you know, hey, Parker Livingstone's fast. Y'all just don't like to see white dudes running like that, man. You know, it makes y'all uncomfortable, but he's fast. You know, man. He's fast. It's all right. It's all right. He's fast.
Hey, you mentioned Ryan Wingo, too. I mean, he's maybe the fastest player or the fastest receiver on the team, at least in the 100-meter dash, or maybe Ryan Niblett is, I guess. But Wingo's very fast. He just didn't get a chance. He dropped the one pass that was in – that he could really do something with today.
Yeah.
Oh, the one over the middle, you know? And so let's hold off on that too much, but I do think that you're right. I mean, there's no Xavier Worthy on this team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he doesn't exist. Zach Kern, 12 for 115 penalties, drops today, crazy unacceptable. Not only did Wingo have one, also Jordan Washington had one.
Oh, yeah.
What does Arch's day look like if he's 21 of 30 instead of 19 of 30, right? Wish Sark took the chew blank trait from Saban. All 11 on offense needed it multiple times today. I do think, in fairness to the defense, I felt they were sloppier on offense than they were on defense, despite the 2 offsides by Simmons and the roughing the passer. I felt like they were sloppier on offense and defense. I thought they were sloppy on special teams too, though. Jack Bomeister did not have a good day at punter after having a terrific day last week. Ryan Niblett, again, let a ball bounce that ended up inside the 7 or 8 yard line on punt return, and then they had the roughing call on Manny Mom. If we're talking about this as a whole, we agree that the offense was sloppier than the defense. Y'all agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Okay. All right. Let's go down to our friend CJ Vogel. He's on site inside DKR. CJ, we heard a little bit from Sark earlier. What else did you hear in the press conference today?
Yeah, let's go over a few of the injuries. You know, he said that Texas held out a few guys that probably could have gone, but ultimately, given the opponent, given the situation that Texas has over the next 3 weeks, wanted to get those guys fully healthy. Trey Wisner dealing with a leg. He mentioned Alex January, obviously, who did not play. Again, held out precautionarily. And Texas, with DeAndre Moore being sidelined, said he looked like he got a bit of a stinger, but will be evaluated later on. Colin Simmons actually walked off the field, looked fine. He did not go back onto the field after entering the medical tent to begin the fourth quarter, but ultimately looked like he was going to be okay.
We also did not see Jonah Williams. He's still recovering, it looks like, and Nick Brooks did not play. Wardell Mack, who had run in with the law earlier in the week, did not perform much either. CJ, any of the players have anything interesting to say?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Arch Manning, let's talk about him. You know, it was a bit of a rocky road for him. You know, there were high peaks and there were pretty low lows. But ultimately for the Texas offense in general, Arch is a pretty tough grader on himself. And I think the Texas offense originally coming out of the gate kind of saw that on the sidelines, said, hey, we got to pick him up. So for Sark to mention that, Arch talked about the importance of having his guys come and rally around him as well. And ultimately, again, he said, I need to get Ryan Wingo the football. You know, we can't connect right now. I need to find ways to get him the rock more consistently. And on top of that, look, Texas needs to find ways to run the rock consistently. So plenty to work on for this Texas offense. And look, Arch is ready to get back out on the practice field Monday and improve on just that.
Rod or Brian, you guys have a question for CJ?
No, CJ, I want to ask you about, and I'll give you props because we were debating whether we were going to see 13 or 14 personnel, multi-tight end sets, and we saw it today.
Week 2.
So, what were your thoughts about Nick Townsend playing early? I want to say it might have been like the second series of the game. They threw Nick Townsend out there in one of them 12 personnel packages. Looked like we were talking about need to juice up 12 personnel. I think he must have hurt us.
Yeah, 100%. Look, that's 2 straight weekends in which we've seen Nick Townsend on the field in the second possession of the game. That's incredibly impressive for him as a young freshman. I'm not sure what's going on behind me here. Excuse me. But on top of that, Texas also gave Nick Townsend his own 11 personnel series at times, and that's huge for him. There are huge plays of which he's coming around to wham and slam guys as a guy in motion to lead block. The physicality is there. I'm waiting for him to get the ball in his hands because that's when you're really going to see the magic of Nick Townsend. But really impressive day all the way around for all of these Texas tight ends, and Amari Winston especially.
Yep.
Brian, you have anything for CJ?
Yeah, I got a question for you. Did you happen to see Anthony Hill with an ice bag on his hand at all?
My goodness. I mean, if he's not walking around with one of those big green Hulk hands on Monday, I'm not sure what we're doing. I mean, there might have been a dent in the face mask. I've never seen something like that.
I'm telling you. I think they showed on the sideline. He had a red mark on his nose, and I'm like, boy, you better be glad that guy's dang helmet was there.
They need to update the Texas record, so it's 1-1 on the season. But for Anthony Hill specifically, it's 1-0 by KO.
No doubt.
All right, CJ, we'll hear you a little bit later. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Good seeing you out at the tailgate today as well, man. All right, hook more and see you, CJ. Good stuff. Ryan, gonna give you the Hulk hand. I wouldn't want to see Anthony Hill coming at me with a right hook.
I'm telling you.
Hey, no way, man. I love it. Let's get back to the chat line here. Caden Sankey, Colin Simmons has more penalties than meaningful plays this year. Wow. Wingo is running half speed on routes. Jeff Banks gets $1 million per year to coach special teams. Injuries in Livingstone Rock. I want to say this. Yes, Colin Simmons has more penalties. He's had 4 now for the year. Wingo, I do not believe, is running half speed on routes. It's been interesting. A couple of those missed throws and misfires from Arch have been to Wingo over the middle where he almost hit him in the legs. They were trying to say that it's Arch's mechanics there. Interesting. Jeff Banks gets $1 million to coach special teams. I will say Jeff Banks is one of the ace recruiters on the Texas staff as well. And Texas has had pretty good tight end play the last 3 years with Jatavian Sanders and Gunnar Helm. He's also the tight ends coach. Injuries and Livingstone Rock. Good stuff. Look, I want to say this, and I think everybody agrees with me here. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, man. Don't make this into a 38-7 game that everybody gets upset at. They are a work in progress. WIP, man. Exactly. They really are. And Brian mentioned it, and we've kind of talked about it this offseason. They are young. They are talented, which could be maddening at times, right? I mean, you're talented, Brian. You and Rod were both really talented as young guys. When you were a junior and senior, you were better than when you were a freshman or sophomore because you saw it, you knew it, and you knew not to make silly mistakes like putting the hands on a roughing call on a quarterback whenever all you had to do was just accidentally bump him and you're out. You know what I mean? There's all those things, and I think you're also right. It wasn't just Arch Manning that pressed at times today. It was the whole team.
Yep.
They wanted to extract revenge as well. All right. King Tutty has, is it too early to call Parker Livingstone wide receiver 1? Not right now. It's not. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I do want to add this on, if you don't mind. One of the nicer plays from Arch today, I thought, was him escaping to his left and throwing to Ryan Wingo, kind of a cross-body throw down the left sideline.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice play. So I do think, look, Livingstone had a great day, not taking anything away from him. I do think Texas is going to find time for other guys. Jared Gibson.
Can I say Sugarcane Daddy's nickname for Parker Livingstone is funny? Gringo Lightning.
Not quite lightning, but Gringo.
Gringo Lightning is funny.
Oh, that's funny.
He's got the
icy white. That turns the uniform. That's good. Y'all are awesome.
I will say, as much as some people spend on suits in the Texas locker room, and they do now. A lot that NIL money is going for some nice suits.
They look
Arthur
good.
Livingstone is the early leader in the clubhouse, guys, as best dressed. He's
Yeah,
got
I saw that. Yeah, I saw the one. I didn't see this week. I saw the Ohio State week. And he was up.
Yeah, he's doing it right. All right, this one, Jarrett Gibson over Christian Clark. In my opinion, thoughts might have agreed with you until the fumble.
That's a ball security, ball security, ball security. I would agree with you if not for ball security. I told him with you. Yep.
All right, this is guy Arch doesn't look like he's having fun. He needs to relax and have fun. I thought I saw more of that today. Rod, you and I talked about this a little bit. Coach Irwin talked about it. At Ohio State, it looked like it was. I mean, look, when he's having fun, when players are having fun, they play better.
Yep,
they're looser.
Mm-hmm.
He did not look loose at all against Ohio State. I thought there were times where you saw that smile come across his face, but probably not a perfect game.
Yeah,
and he's searching for perfection.
Yep, he's looking for the joy, and I think he found it in this game a few times. I saw him, celebrate, and saw him, get excited about his work. It'll come, guys. It'll come. You got to get to the point where you can, as a player in the games, right? You practice at a really high level, have a baseline of execution at a high level in practice, and then that starts translating to the games more and more. And then you get to the point where you're confident in yourself in the games. And that's when you really have fun. When you believe when you're confident in your ability and confident in your preparation, and he's not there just yet because of the Ohio State game and because of some inconsistency. He'll get there, and y'all will see the best version of Arch Manning.
Brian, this one's for you. It's efficiency for me, guys, from Lane C, right? Guys have to make the most out of every play. Can't have penalties, drop balls, and missed tackles. They did have a couple missed tackles today. What did you think?
Yep.
Think Lane's on the right track, though, overall, Brian?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I agree with you 100%. There was some missed tackles. I think, and it just kind of dawned on me a second ago, just us talking about Arch and talking about some of these things. I almost wonder how much pressure this football team is putting on themselves. And you even look at Arch. Your back-to-back college football playoff. You lost a lot of talent. You've had all this hype during the offseason. Arch has got all this hype. How much pressure are they putting on themselves? And we all know pressure busts pipes, right? And you almost wonder, that vibe that Texas team had last year. They were loose. They were relaxed. They did go out there and just do their thing. You saw Arch doing all the little dances and stuff. You saw him doing all that stuff. Those guys got to understand when you get in the locker room, that's who you got to be. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. There's a reason why you're at the University of Texas. Go out there and just have fun. Go play ball. You put in the work during the week and then you go play ball on Saturdays. And I think that's what Stark's message should be this week. Guys, we got to relax and have fun. We got to be who we are. And I think, and it just kind of literally just dawned on me on that a while ago, is you start to wonder how much of this is becoming we're putting pressure on ourselves.
Yeah.
Self-inflicted almost.
Yeah.
You're running around in your own head before you instead of just playing ball. I think there's something to it as well, Brian. This one from Don Vito, 111. Brian Robeson still ripped. I was a senior in high school that year, the 05 Natty. You know what? Yeah, Brian is ripped. Just want to point out that Arch threw for 300, Bobby. Did he throw for 300 or did the team throw for 300?
Oh, yeah. He was
you have our you have stats.
I think he threw for 295. Sorry.
All right.
Now if you include his rushing stats, which they do in that in those prize picks games, you know what I mean?
Oh, the overall
over 300. So that may be what you're talking about. Arch Manning, by the way, both games positive rushing yards. I still think that's going to come back and be a real value as we get into later down the year. His legs are going to win a game or two for Texas. I really believe that. why do Arch's passes nosedive on intermediate crosses? It's like skipping rocks. Jesse Palmer tried to explain today that he thinks he's overstriding. I'm not a quarterback mechanic guy. So I don't. Brian Robins is like, no, I tried to get those guys on the ground.
Yeah.
Rod, you don't. I don't think you are either. But
No.
you know why? It seems like he's opening up his body a little bit, maybe, and trying to sidearm it, and doesn't have the juice on it.
Yeah, I'm not either. I've heard other quarterback gurus or guys who played the quarterback position say something similar about Arch's mechanics. But the reason it's important is because Sark loves the over-unders and the crossing routes. I mean, they're a big part of Sark's offense. You go look at his passing game. I mean, it's a big, I would say more than half of that damn thing is crossing routes, over-unders, drag routes. And it's all about creating yak opportunities, yards after the catch opportunities. So you want the quarterback to be able to throw the ball on time and be able to hit them in rhythm, in stride. And that has not been the case with Arch on those crossing routes at all. He has not been able to hit those guys in stride. So I don't know if you're Sark, if you just decide, all right, you know what? It's a part of our playbook that we're going to wait to try to, dive into until he gets better anticipatory ability and skills within his offense, or if you just nix it all together and be like, man, we're going more vertical stuff down the field and shots down the field and curls down the field and not so many of those crossing routes. But that's a bit, I tell you guys, those I call them rainbow crossers. I mean, Sark depends on those a ton.
All right. Sorry about that, Rod. I clicked the wrong button there. Rod, this is from Devin Diggs. Thank you, Devin. Rod, it seemed to me like we didn't play a ton of man on defense today and left a number of pockets. Thoughts?
That I don't. I mean, it's hard from first watches to find that. And even unless you have the all 22, it's to confirm it, it's really, really tough. I'll go back and watch. They play a lot of single high. I will say that. Ton of single high. I mean, they were in single high most of the time. So I have to go back and check if they play a lot of man or zone. I think when they were on like third downs, I want to say they were playing a lot of man. They played a lot of loose man too, where they were playing. If they did play, whether it's man or zone, they played off coverage a lot and kind of let everything stay in front of them. But I'll go back and check it. Second watch tomorrow.
Jonah Williams enthusiast, put Jonah in and all your problems will be solved. We didn't see him today. I think that's putting a little too much on him, but we'll see. Hey, Freelance Society, I took my 3-year-old to her first Texas game today. I got a picture from Dylan earlier. Went better than I thought. She was a little scared of the cannon fire. Imagine that. You imagine that. What's the status on Emmett Mosley, the wide receiver? He did not see action. He is still not fully back 100% in practice, but what we have learned is Texas expects him to be ready for the Florida game. All right, before we go to our final set of questions, I want to thank our friends again over at Flight, as well as all of our game day sponsors, including the folks at Tito's, Von Lane, as well as Hargrove Roofing. But Flight by Yingling is the next generation of light beer with only 95 calories. It's an easy drinking upscale light beer designed to elevate your taste buds with just 2.6 carbs per serving. Flight is an easy-to-drink beer with a clean, crisp taste. Try Flight from Yingling. I am tongue-tied. I am horrible.
You've had a few Yinglings.
I have this morning.
There's a couple.
I'm going to have a few after this, perhaps, though. I will tell you that much. Ed B says, did Texas play down to its competition? Great question, in my opinion. There were times. Yeah. There were times.
I think a combination of playing down and a lull after a big game.
Fair.
Yeah. The emotional letdown. Yeah, because remember after what game was that? After the Bama game a couple of years ago, who they play after that? Remember they had like
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Yeah, it was like, what the hell's going on? This team just played Alabama. So I think Brian's right a little emotional letdown. You had so much invested in that game. That could be definitely a reality.
Sugarcane says, can Gibson's hands be fixed? He's very talented. Man, I mean, what did he have, like 8 carries today and had one fumble? I mean, it's about the same ratio of fumbles to carries he had last year.
You can't risk it, man. No matter how talented somebody is. Remember Jaden Blue? It hurt him. It hurt his status a little bit with Sark.
Oh, that's how he lost his job.
Yeah, he wasn't earned back that trust. It turns out the crazy about Jaden Blue is we know he's got good hands because go watch him catch the football on all those wheel routes and everything. But I want to say that Jaden Blue offered something that is almost undeniable because he has game-changing ability. Jerry Gibbons is a good player. I don't know if he's got game-changing ability where you have to have him on the field. Jaden Blue won you some games, like actually, hell, kept you in Ohio State game. You're only not in that game without Jaden Blue. So I don't know if Jerry Gibson's got that kind of trade-off, ability.
Isaiah Rangel with our last super chat here of the night or the afternoon. DJ Campbell would cost us in big games with the penalties, guys. He is supposed to be a veteran, yet he played like a freshman. Disappointing. Do we bench him? He had one holding call, but so did Trevor Gooseby. Cole Hudson and Brandon Baker had a chop block. I don't think you can single out DJ Campbell in this game. I didn't. There have been times where I think that he's had issues, but did y'all see something where you would single out DJ Campbell totally, at least in the immediate aftermath of this game?
Not this game. I mean, I think it was all across the board.
Okay, fair enough. All right, guys, we're going to have more tonight. CJ Vogel and Jeff Howe getting together as well to talk a little bit about this. But Texas defeating our friends at San Jose State Spartans, 38-7. Arch Manning, 4 touchdown passes, 1 touchdown running. Longhorn defense stout yet again. Hold on one second. I have a what were the other supers, Matt? I didn't see them, my man.
Ooh.
Somebody's asking me, is Sark holding back versus we look lackluster? That's a good question too. Now,
early on, I thought in this game we saw misdirection early on. We saw the screen game early on. I think multi-motion with multiple players in motion or one player motioning multiple times. I thought we saw more of that early on. So in this game, honestly, and I'll go back and track it, but just for eye test, it seemed more characteristic of a Sark script early on in this game, more so than the Ohio State one, which was when Texas was running the ball a lot more early on, establishing the run. I got to go look at the early down run rates and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if he's holding back as much because he's got to get this team comfortable being able to execute their core concepts in these games. Like he can't hold too much back and just try to unveil everything versus Florida because this team does not seem like they're going to execute at a high level, doing things for the first time on the road in Gainesville versus Florida. I would not take that risk versus looking at this team and being what they are right now, sloppy. I would not take that chance. Be like, no, we really go deep in the bag versus Florida on the road. Nah, you need to execute those schemes right now versus whoever you're playing. So I don't think we're holding back as much as I did when I watched the Ohio State game. I'll just say that.
All right. Next one. Is there another one, Matt? Burt Reynolds. The OL is trash. Flood seat should be scolding.
Wow.
I think we need to hold off on that. They had 427 yards of offense today. They actually were pretty good in pass protection unless San Jose started bringing 6. So I actually thought they held up in pass pro, not necessarily in run blocking at times. I think that it was a very mixed performance in that regard. We will see how it goes the rest of this way. Longhorns have another one next week. It should be an interesting one. Texas, right now, a situation where they've got 2 more games really before conference play. Mm-hmm. And if they can get their thing, we saw some progress today on offense. The defense traveled again, which has been, look, Pete Kwiatkowski has done a tremendous job the last 2.5, 3 years with this Texas defense. Yes, they were not perfect, but pretty darn good again. So, all right, that's going to do it for this episode of the postgame show here at On Texas Football, brought to you by our friends over at Flight by Yingling. Brian, next time you get to do the ad read and wear the green hand. And then thank you for joining us, guys. Everybody, do not get too upset. Texas is 1-1. Brian, any final thoughts? Rod, any final thoughts?
Keep on chugging.
Reference to Yingling? What was that?
That's for Yingling.
No, I think, like I said, it's day to day, man. It's gonna be a day to day thing. They got to get better every day. So I'm actually excited about the journey for the team. I think I thought they were gonna be 11-1. They still may end up being 11-1. But right now they're not a team that I bet was gonna be 11-1. All right, that's not what I saw, but that doesn't mean they're a finished product, and that's what we got to get to, getting better week to week.
Yeah, I want to say thanks one last time to all the fun we had at the tailgate today. Good seeing you guys. I saw so many faces that have been on this with us as well. Also want to say once again to Brandon Hugh and his son Ezra. It was great to see you guys as well. And thanks for everybody that came out. I had a great time. For Brian Robeson, for Rod Babers, and for the real hero today, Matt Hutchison, our producer, has been on the call since 7 a.m., guys. Thank you all very much. You guys have a good one. And I want to say this. Go blue tonight, by the way. Welcome.
Welcome.